Well, I was really pleased with the work that we got done last week in terms of the bye week. I thought the players had, pretty good focus and practiced hard and actually hopefully addressed some issues and problems that we can improve on. You never know how your team's going to respond to a bye week relative to how they're going to come out and play, but I think it's important to get back in the routine of the week for this week in preparation, for this game. This team has a great opportunity in the last one-third of the season, starting with the game that we have right now with LSU, who's a very good team. And I think that, we need everyone's best. We need their best attention to detail. We need their best energy and enthusiasm. We need the best focus on execution. We need their best in terms of their inspiration and how they affect other people, in a positive way. The choices we make and the action we take will certainly determine how successful we have a chance to be here in this last one-third of the season. And the focus doesn't need to be on the finish line. The focus needs to be on the process of what we need to do every day to play the best football we're capable of playing. That means you focus every day, every play in practice, same thing when the game comes, so that you have the best opportunity to play your best, which is what we need right now to keep focus on the things that are going to make a difference in the game. And that takes maturity, it takes a commitment, and a lot of perseverance, and that will be a challenge for everyone in terms of how they finish the season. From an injury standpoint, I think everybody will be back in action today. Kerry Murphy may be a little bit limited, just has some knee soreness that he has had to manage, or we have had to manage with him, throughout the year. He should be back in practice tomorrow. LSU is a very, very good team, very talented team, very well-coached team, have good size and speed as a team on both sides of the ball, play very physical up front, and very good skill players. Offensively, they've been able to run the ball effectively. They got a really good back. They got 3-4 really good receivers, difference maker kind of tight end, 2 quarterbacks that have both been very productive, at times for them this year. And, defensively, they're probably the best team in our league, maybe one of the best defensive teams in the country. Again, good quickness up front, run really well, good secondary people, and they're very well coached and play physical. People have struggled to run the ball until the last game against them, but I think it's going to be important that we can continue to have balance in terms of what we do to be able to move the ball effectively against them, because they have good team speed and good size on their team. They're very good special teams, very good on special teams, and have very good specialists. Great punt returner, great kickoff returner, good kickers and punters, and they do a really good job from that standpoint. So great challenge for us, but that's the fun of it. And hopefully our players are all willing and ready to give their best at this time of the year, which will be most critical.
Nick, with a couple of undefeated teams going down on Saturday, a lot of people believe you control your own destiny now. Is that what you mean when you say you have a great opportunity the last third of the season?
Well, yeah, and I think there's a lot of other people probably in the same boat. So it's who can take care of their business, the best down the road by what you control. And what you control is how we play. What we control is how we play. So I think that's the most important thing that we want to be able to focus on, and that's why we need everybody's best right now at this time of the year. And, I think one of the teams that we play in the SEC won 22 out of 25 games, teams that we have left, on this side of it. So we're going to play some of the best teams, and we need to be playing our best football of the year if we're going to be able to accomplish what we have an opportunity to accomplish.
Coach, just how productive was the self-scouting during the bye week in terms of helping out the offense and defense?
Well, we do that every week. And I think that, you want to always sort of realize your own tendencies and your self-scout, because the other team basically has the same statistical information. And, you don't want to be too predictable on what you're doing, but at the same time, you don't want to change what you're doing to where you can't execute very well. But I think having a bye week gives you extra time to do that, gives you a chance to expose your team to other things that they're going to see, and hopefully that's going to help you play better down the road.
Coach, you talked about LSU's defense. John Chavis is widely considered one of the best coordinators in the Southeastern Conference, much less the country. Can you speak to his efforts there at LSU?
Well, he's done a really good job there. I mean, they've always had good defensive teams, good defensive players. Bo Pelini did a really good job there, for several years, and he's got a lot of experience. He's got a good system. It's very multiple, and I think even this year being the second year that he's there, the players probably feel a lot more comfortable with the system and execute it very well, and he does a fantastic job. I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for him, all the years that he was at Tennessee and the great job that he did there. He has good players, but they all play pretty well, and they're sound in what they do.
Coach, if you could, two questions. First, if you could just comment on Patrick Peterson and what he brings to LSU secondary.
Well, Patrick Peterson's one of the best defensive backs in the country, not only in terms of what he does as a defensive back, but he's a great return guy too, and has had a significant amount of production in both kickoff return and punt return. But I think he's a physical guy. He's got great athletic ability, size and speed for his position, but he's also a very instinctive, good player all the way around. He's got great ball skills, got good ball judgment, he's a good tackler, and he can cover. And, I think those are the three critical factors for a defensive back, and he's got them all covered. But he's also done a fantastic job this year, as I mentioned before, in the return game for them, of being a weapon.
And secondly, in all 4 years of your time here, Alabama and LSU have both gone into this game with a chance to win the SEC West. What does that say about the consistency for both programs over time?
Well, they've really had probably as good a run as anybody in the last however many years, 8-10 years probably. And Les has done a fantastic job there. His record speaks for itself in terms of what he's been able to accomplish, and they continue to recruit well. They've got good players. They've got a great staff. They do a really good job of developing their players, and this is one of the premier programs, in our league, and that's what we aspire to try to be. And consistency is, the key to that drill, and that's something that you got to sort of do all the time. You never arrive. You just got to keep on keeping on, and I think that's critical for us. And even though we've had to sort of rebuild a little bit this year and play a lot of new guys, those guys have started to improve and respond and mature, and hopefully we can play with that consistency down the stretch here.
Coach, the Miami Dolphins were the last team to go undefeated in the NFL, 1972, which speaks towards parity in much of the league. With so many upsets in college football this year, including the SEC, does this speak to the issue of parity in college football? And if so, does that mean an undefeated season for a national champion is something that's becoming more unrealistic?
Well, I think that, from a player's perspective, 14 games in a season, especially when you play in a league like our league, where there's, 6 teams in the top 20 or 25 or whatever it is, and on many occasions there's more than that. There's actually 5 teams in our division that's in the top 20. I would say that speaks to parity. I think from a player's perspective, the consistency in performance is the most difficult thing to try to generate, with your team all the time, especially when you play multiple good teams, which means that you just can't get up for 1 or 2 games in the season that you have to play just about every week because you're playing a really strong opponent. And that takes a lot of maturity. It takes a lot of commitment from the players. And they're at an age where, you know, sometimes that's very challenging. And I think that's why sometimes you don't know for sure what you're going to get from week to week, you know, in college football. And I'm not talking about our team. I'm talking about all the teams in the country. And that's why you see a lot of upsets. I don't know how, you know, when good teams play, even though one team is favored, there's still two good teams playing. Somebody has to be favored. But when Michigan State loses to Iowa, is that really an upset, or is that just two good teams playing? And I think anybody that's in the top 25 is very capable, and I don't think there's that great, you know, sort of deviation between good teams that, you know, you can really sit there and say this team should dominate that team. Now, there are a few teams like that most of the time. Seems like Oregon and Auburn are the two teams that have been able to do that most consistently so far this year. But other than that, you know, all the rest of us that have, I'd say, what you would classify as at least a good team, have played a lot of good teams and struggle to get that all the time.
Coach, you kind of addressed LSU's last game as far as the run defense and everything. As good as they've been for 7 games and the kind of a unique style Auburn's running game presents with Cam Newton, can you not take a whole lot out of that? Or is that just kind of a fluke playing against a different kind of running game?
Well, I don't know that it, I think, I don't know if fluke is the right word. I think because you have to give credit to the people that did it. And it is a unique style that they have because of their quarterback runs and what they can do. You know, with the, you know, outstanding player that they have at that position. But that's not conventional. So, you know, and a couple big plays really contributed to, you know, those numbers in terms of what they gave up. So I from our standpoint, we discount it because that's not really our style. That's not something that we would look at and say, wow, they'll have difficulty defending those plays against us because we don't really have those plays. We don't have that kind of quarterback. We don't have that kind of offense. So, you know, we have a tremendous amount of respect for their defense and what they can do. And, you know, we also have a lot of respect for what Auburn's been able to do on offense to about everybody they played.